Hey, welcome to the program. My name is Suzanne Carawan. I am the very inspired host of the Boy Mom podcast, and I'm really excited today to have our guests, Bear Davis and Ronnie Davis, with us. And so, welcome to the program, both of you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
All right. So first and foremost, I always like to ask kind of the question of where. So Ronnie, this is coming to you. So where? Tell me about your family. Tell me about your children.
Bear was the caboose, and I have another boy. He's the oldest, and then a girl in the middle. So it'd been better boy, boy, girl because things would have been a little different. But when you have a girl in the middle, they both get to pick on her, and they did. They were exciting. I loved being a mother, and I probably wasn't the best mother because I was very young. But by the time I got to Bear, I kind of knew what I was doing. So yeah, he was a fun child. They all were. Um, Boys are easier than
So
girls.
that's maybe where I'm gonna ask the absolute question everybody's gonna ask, which is, so is that where the nickname Bear came from? He's the baby bear. He's the baby of the family.
Well, no. So when he was born, I would sing Kenny the Pooh, like the Winnie the Pooh song. And
Yeah.
then I dropped, we called him Pooh Bear because I used to Kenny the Pooh, just being a baby, singing to your baby. And then
Yep.
we called him Pooh Bear. Then we dropped the Pooh and just start calling him Bear. And when he went into kindergarten, he came home one day. He didn't know his name was Kenneth. So he came home from school one day and he goes, "Mom, you have to talk to my teacher." And I says, well, what's that, Bear? And he goes, "She keeps calling me Kenneth." And I told her that's not my name. And I says, "Honey, we have to talk. That is your
I
name."
love it.
Yeah. So yeah, but
So did it just stick? So you were just Bear from then on out?
it just stayed Bear. We never called him Kenny or Kenneth
Yeah,
all through school.
I had a third grade. I had a third grade teacher once, and she would call me Kenneth the whole year. And she's like, when you get older and you go to college, they're going to call you Kenneth. I was like, okay. I swear I wanted to look her up when I get to college because I didn't have one professor ever call me Kenneth. I was like, yeah, just call me Bear. Like, okay, Bear. I was like,
Yeah, it was Coach Bear.
Yeah.
Even when he had the high machine, it was Bear.
yeah.
It never was
So
Kenneth.
it's third grade teacher, and that was
Yeah,
about it.
of course. Yeah.
You can thank Winnie the Pooh for that.
Yeah.
That name Bear.
So I love that. So it literally you use Bear the whole time. So like let's say you were getting your like did you have like you're getting an award or whatever, you're in some high school thing, you're getting an award. It literally says Bear Davis, like all of your stuff says it except high school diploma.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't
Yeah,
remember
any
him.
just
Yeah, pretty much.
official
Okay.
total official documents is about it. I mean, I think that's
Right. I
where,
think when you graduated.
yeah, my diploma says
It's about
Kenneth.
it.
He might have said Kenneth Bear Davis.
Yeah, a lot of times.
Yeah.
At some point you have to fess up to your legal.
Yeah,
I love that. All right. So you've got your older brother. So how many years between all the siblings?
Well,
I always know by graduation
How old
because
is he?
my dad has, we have a mix and match. I'm the only child from my mom and dad. So I have to keep track of all my other siblings. So I always know
Okay.
what year they graduated high school. Rick was 83.
Yep.
Lisa was 85. I was 92. So that's how I just know the gaps. It's like then I have to figure out
like
their
7
age.
years older.
Yeah.
Rick's 60 or what? 50. He's 10 years
52.
older.
No, he's 8
Okay.
years old.
Got it.
Okay.
So there's a decent gap. I mean, between us. Like I never went to school with them. Like I never was in the same building with them.
Bear was everybody's baby because they were
Right.
older kids and
yeah, they were definitely older. So
yeah, that's good. You were the adored child.
Yeah.
Yes, he was.
Got it. All right. So then what was he like, Ronnie, as a boy?
Oh,
How was he like as a little kid?
Bear was a fun baby. He never, he always seemed like he always had good days. he was energetic and always into stuff and wanting to do stuff, and sports have always been his thing. I can remember one time he wanted to go to practice, and it was winter, and it was sleeting and raining and snowing and frost and everything else outside. And I said, "Bear, I think we can miss it tonight." And he's like, "Mom," and my phone's ringing. I'm sorry. He says, "I really got to go. The coach will be really mad. I can't miss these." And I said, "Bear, I'm not driving in this." So I go in the other room and I come back out, and Bear's not in the house. And I start looking for him and yelling outside for him. He got himself dressed and walked across all the fields. Now, mind you, we lived on Cosgray Road out by Hayden
Yeah,
Run. He walked and all through the fields to get into
community center.
community center. He walked.
It's about
and I
3 mile walk.
and it was freezing outside. So I'm getting in my car and I'm just driving all over the place looking for him. So I'm going to kill this kid when I find
Yeah.
him. But yeah, he's always been my number one sports guy. I knew he was going to end up doing something in sports because every year he would change. Every time he changed his sport, he changed his look and his hair and his attitude.
Different mentality for
Yeah,
each sport.
each sport. I mean, he played
Oh, uh-oh. Here comes the
wrestling.
dirt.
He had a different
Okay.
hairdo.
That's true.
Lacrosse, a different hairdo.
I still feel like the '80s lent itself to different personalities during the seasons. Like the '80s, you can get away with different personalities.
He did
Way
have one too.
way more than you can now.
He was a riot. I'll tell you. He was
That's
a
true.
fun kid.
That's true.
He was a fun kid to raise.
So, I feel like at all boys at some point that play sports, what year was the mohawk year? I'm sure you had a mohawk at some point.
I don't
I
think he did.
never really did the
Really?
mohawk. I was
Did you
more
have
I was more into like
You
the
had the little rat tail?
checkerboards. Yeah, yeah, the rat tail,
Yeah,
the
okay, alright,
checkerboards. Like
yeah,
all
okay.
those kind of
You
things.
had the
Yeah.
checkerboard. Yeah,
Oh yeah, that was for sure. Had to
got
have
it.
that.
it was little had
So
the
I
bull
actually
hair.
don't know this. I mean, what sport did you play? What sport did you Yeah, what sport
I
did you
pretty
play
much tried
first?
everything.
Yeah, every season would change. He would play
Yeah,
that sport.
I would try just about
I said,
anything. I mean, kind of
what
broke up.
sport did you
I mean, primarily
play
like high
first?
school. Yeah, football, wrestling, lacrosse became my regulars. But I mean, I played probably 6 years of like summer baseball. I tried swimming. That was the hardest sport I think I've ever
How did
tried.
you get into lacrosse?
Yeah,
So
forgot.
our I think you're freezing up a little bit there, Susan. There you go. All right. Yeah, lacrosse was an interesting find for me because in Hilliard, when I was in 8th grade, um, they started a club at the high school, and the guy that was coaching the team happened to be a varsity wrestling assistant. And there was probably like 5, 6 of us wrestlers that were in 8th grade that were coming through, and our varsity coach knew that we had a really solid run of wrestlers, and we were coming up to the high school and working out, and then he happened to see all 5 of us. The assistant coach who was coaching lacrosse, he's like, "Hey, all of you guys should get sticks." And then the next year, which would have been spring of I think '89, we had our first varsity team at Hilliard, and we were all of us wrestlers were on the lacrosse team basically. And yeah, I just fell in love with it. It was just really cool, unique, different, free flow. Never played a free flow sport, or I mean, wrestling, I guess, would be, but a free flow team sport. And I just, thought it was really cool and stuck with it.
I couldn't go to the wrestling. It was horrible for me to watch my son's arms and legs be twisted and turned like a pretzel. I couldn't do it. And then you go to the matches, and your kid gets 3 minutes, and you sit there all day to watch those 3 minutes. And I gave that to his dad. I said, "This is all you. You guys go do your thing. It's all good." But yeah, he played them
It's
all
so
of them.
true.
I
I'll tell
even
you
tried BMXing. Like
that
BMXing
wrestling
was
for
sorry. I was just
Did you
saying we
really?
tried everything. Yeah, we tried everything. I mean, like I mean, again, we didn't have cable TV. I mean, we lived out in the country. I was willing to do anything that got me in town. I was willing to work on any bike or do whatever. So it was just fun.
Yeah, this is fun.
This is what we did for fun.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he worked
I
on
guess
my.
I was saying
I'm gonna shut that off.
Sorry, it's
that's okay.
neither one
That's
of we
we can
neither one
always
of my
we can
parents have
always
figured out how to turn off
Course,
ringers.
course, it's a spam. Of course it is.
um
Yeah, he said he about his
good.
bikes. He'd work on anything. Well, he also worked on my ride 'em lawnmower. They spray painted it silver and put some monkey grass on the back, and him and his cousin, and they would ride it down the
We
street.
made it into like a tiki,
And he
A tiki
rider.
mower.
Yeah, tiki mower.
till the police
That's probably
caught him.
that's probably like a
And
$1,000,000 it's like $1,000,000 idea right there.
Right,
Oh,
the
how much
tiki mower.
fun is that, right? Yeah. Why don't people It's like a really good point. Why don't people, like, pimp out their mowers? They probably should, right? They
No
trick
doubt.
them
That's
out with
what we
his
thought.
cousin and him pimped
Yeah,
it out.
yeah. That's
Yeah.
what we thought.
Oh,
While I'm
but
at
you know
work, I
what?
come
Listen,
home.
there's a lot to be said for having that type of time, right? Not on your device like everybody is now, and being creative and going and playing sports. Of course, I'm a huge advocate too. I was going to say, Ronnie, I think that for of all the sports, because we were very much the same way. Both my boys have done it all. Like I feel like it's hard to even come up with a sport they haven't tried.
Mhm.
But that wrestling, that is the most torturous sport for a mother.
Right.
I'd put that at top torture. That I've never known a minute can be so long,
It was
right? And
horrible. Yeah,
it's
I hated it.
horrible,
I
horrible.
hated
I
it.
know it's horrible. Even if like just regardless of the outcome, it is like that mano y mano. Your heart is pounding,
I
right, for
know.
your child. And it's almost like you're in there in the ring with them. It's
Correct.
incredible.
It's like you wanna go down there and pull that kid right off your boy. Like, "No, you can't do
Exactly.
that." So, could I tell her what you're lucky about your lucky what do they call your wrestling
Singlet.
singlet? You're lucky, can I tell her?
I didn't have anything lucky.
Yes, you did. You wouldn't let me wash it.
Oh yeah,
Oh, the well,
yeah.
that's like a so that's
She
Bear,
goes,
are you, superstitious like that? Are you superstitious? Like,
I
you're
probably
like, "Don't wash the jersey?"
I'm one of those people that do things, and then I say I'm not superstitious, but I do it anyway. I have a routine, Like I call it a routine. Let's not go as far as saying superstitions, but yeah, that one definitely stunk.
It's
That
a
was
process.
terrible.
It's a
yeah,
Yes,
I
process.
think it was
yeah,
to keep the guy back a
yeah, that
little
was
bit.
terrible. Yeah, that was a bad one. That was only one
Yeah.
that a teenager could do.
But
It
I
was
mean,
pretty
actually, that's quite smart, right? That's quite
Yeah,
smart.
and like
If you
whoever else
stink,
me, I think.
well, my certainly my 2 sons ascribe to that one. They wouldn't
Yeah,
wash any of their pennies or anything, and they're like, "Ah, it just helps us out."
yeah.
That's
Very
why that's why boys are fun, I guess.
It
Girls are a little bit more, "Oh, I want it washed right now, mom." It's like before we have cheer or something,
yeah.
it gotta be clean. This one, he wanted it to stink. It's like, what is with this child? But yeah, it was fun. Excuse me.
So, Ronnie, what would you say then, since you are a mother of both boys and girls, what would you say is the biggest difference that you see with being the boys versus the girls?
Well, girls are high maintenance. They really high maintenance. Boys, I used to go to Lazarus at Christmas time, and my oldest son, he would have been into sports. I think
Yeah.
he was from another father. His father lived in another city, so he wasn't around as much. So Bear's dad spent a lot of time with him in sports, and I think Rick would have been more sports minded if he had that support also.
He, he's very artistic. He's very artistic. I'm not.
Mhm.
and
Yeah,
and music and just drawing, and he was very talented in those areas. So we were just different in those areas, but
yeah.
that's good.
Rick took a lot after my artistic. We like to draw on walls, which he did, and we paint the walls, and let the kids be what they want in their
Uh-huh.
room. He had a big guy with a, stepping out with a guitar in his hand. He drew it on his wall and he chalked it. It was interesting. Yeah, it was. Bear had something different in his room. It was reggae stripes and colors
Yeah.
of the flag. And
Yeah, mom always lets us go a little crazy with our rooms.
yeah, my daughter, she put up pictures of GQ guys, and then
Yeah.
she wrote her
Uh-huh,
name
sure.
across the wall, and she called me at work. She goes, "I hate what I just did. I can't believe I ruined all those beautiful pictures, painting my name on top of 'em." I says, "Well,
So you
I
were
the,
said,
the
pretty late. Yeah,
the traumas of
you're
teenage mom
yeah,
stuff, being a teenager's
right,
mom.
exactly. I was gonna
Uh,
say, but you're a pretty laid back mom. You kinda gave them the space to,
in the
to
rooms."
create and be who they are in the
Only in the rooms. Only
in
in
the
the rooms.
rooms.
The rest of it was mine, and it had to be the way
Okay,
I wanted it. Well,
well, I
I
think that's fair,
any women
yes.
that are out there that's, that are single and don't want to share their child with their dads because they don't like the dad, don't do that, because kids need both parents. They need I could not give to Bear what his dad gave to him, and
Mhm,
his
sure.
dad can't give what I can give. And Bear's dad and myself, we raised him separately together. I used
Oh,
to
I
get
love
notes.
that.
Yes. We go to his school functions, and we even now we are friends, and we go to the Christmas things and different occasions at Bear's house, and we're there and we're civil. But I'm glad that it turned out that way for him. I used to get notes from his teachers saying how nice it is to have Bear in their class and that he's doing so well. And usually you get notes from teachers saying, your child has a problem and we'd
Mhm,
like you to come in and talk. But I never got notes like that. Never ever. And I think it was because his dad and I were civil, in sharing him. I
mhm,
wasn't going to raise another child without a father. So, because
mhm.
my other two, he lived in Indiana, so he didn't really get to visit but every 6 weeks. And there's a difference. So,
Yeah,
any
like,
ladies out there thinking, this baby's just yours, don't do that to your child. Let him be with his dad because it's important. Just a
it is.
word.
I mean, and there's a difference between the marriage and then being the parents, right? Those are 2 very
Right.
different relationships, and so we have to keep those things distinct, and I don't know how much time, again, we spend in society really talking about those are 2 different things, right? And so
Right.
those that's wonderful. Now, I will say, I think because his name was Bear, you kind of predisposed him into classrooms of being liked.
Yeah, right.
being noticed for sure.
Yeah,
They never
yeah,
Yeah,
forgot.
that's a good story.
Never
right.
forgot my name.
Yep.
Right, it's hard to be like a I mean, unless you would it would be either one way or the other to me, like, you're either a sweetheart or you're like a hellion with a name like Bear, right? And so, like, it's one of the 2, so once they find out you're a nice kid, they're like, "Oh, we love this kid." Yeah.
We love that bear.
Yeah, exactly, and I feel like you're, always Bear too, you're like a 2 namer, you're like Bear Davis, like, it's I don't usually everybody just calls you Bear Davis, it's like a
Yeah, right.
you're a double namer there.
It is kind of strange how he got, that name. And it was all because I would sing Kenny the Pooh song to him. And that was, just stuck. It
It just
just,
stuck, yeah.
it
Yeah,
just, yeah.
it is fun.
Well, and so I mean, so let's kind of we'll ratchet it forward a little bit. So you're in high school, et cetera, and I'm just gonna jump. I won't have to go so linear, but let's jump forward to just on the name. So Ronnie, did you go to lots of his games and everything else? Like, are you hearing the name Bear Davis then being like
Oh,
announced through the
yeah.
big, you know what I
His
mean? The
football
whole
mostly. Mostly his football. I didn't like wrestling. Baseball, I couldn't go there because every time I go to a baseball game, I would look up and there comes that ball right at me. And I said, okay, I'm done it because it's been that way all my life. I go to a game, the ball comes right towards me.
Really,
And
you're like a baseball magnet.
you got it. You got it. So I didn't like going to those games, but I did go to his football games. I did like
Well,
them, it was fun. And
yeah.
it's fun to well, even when he was in, lacrosse, pro lacrosse, I
Yeah.
went to some of those games, and he was on TV, so that was really fun to see your kid on
That's
TV.
That's where I'm going with that, like, you're like, "Wow," now you're
Yeah,
like, "Wow, that Bear Davis, that looks good in
yeah,
print," right? That looks
and
good that looks
yeah,
good
and
hearing
on
announced.
TV, they said Bear Davis also.
Yeah,
It wasn't
yeah,
Kenneth
right? And
Davis.
still and so,
Yeah,
like, how? Because I think that's I think one of the things that I love the most is when you have somebody who's done something like that, and you're seeing them on TV, and, you're like, of course, I have a different angle, so I've got kids that were, like, in the program, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, right, that's Bear Davis, like, we actually can get to know him, but he's, like, on TV." But you still hear the mom who's still just as proud, you know what I mean? Like, you must
oh,
be
yeah,
7 years
absolutely.
old, nothing's changed,
Yeah,
right? It's just the same
nothing.
thing, and nothing's changed. I know, I think that's one of the sweetest things about the relationship with the mother-son relationship. It doesn't really change from that perspective, you just get bigger and older.
Right, right. That's it. Yeah, he's always been really fun, like, I remember one time we went, down by the river, and I had a convertible at the time, and he heard a song, he says, "You gotta stop right here, mom." I said, "Why, Barry?" And he felt the need to get out and dance. So, he says, "I gotta dance right now." It was when break dancing was big,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so
Yeah.
we pulled over, and I turned up the music, and there he goes. He starts dancing
I
right
had the
there.
fever. I had the fever.
Yeah, the fever, that's right, you have the fever.
That's
That's
I've got
hilarious.
the fever.
He was a
So
riot. He was
so
too
is
much
that a
fun. I hung out with him.
I was gonna say, I mean,
So
but
I
you
could
know what?
laugh.
I think that's one of the things. I think you can realize that, the boys are really fun. You can actually being a boy mom is a lot of fun because they're
Right,
hilarious half the time.
absolutely. Yeah, and when we went to, the haunted house, nobody was in the haunted house, but it would have just been him and I, and I said, "You sure you wanna go in here, Bear? I don't know, it looks so scary to me." He says, "Well, why don't we just go on over there to that restaurant?" It was like a bar restaurant.
Mhm.
To get something food and stuff instead, and I said, "Sure, that sounds great. Let's do that." Because I didn't wanna go in there and be the only people in the haunted house, just they'd all pick on us. So we went over to they played some music, and they had a stage and a dance floor, so, of course, Bear got up and did his, break dancing and his dancing. These girls start s he was only how old were you? About 8, 9,
Maybe
8?
10, 9, 10. Yeah.
Well, the girls start sending Coca-Colas
Oh,
over to
yeah.
him.
Yeah, free cooks for the night for my
Oh,
breakdancing
So, I
nice.
skills.
mean, he was, like,
Smart.
fun. He was really a fun kid to
Uh,
like I say, you
Um,
never know what was gonna come out of his head.
yeah.
And
that's great.
he's still fun. He makes you laugh.
I think so. Yeah.
Did
Yeah.
you get
For
a
the
solid
Fires. I'm always putting out fires. It's just a fire thing.
yeah, of
When you're
course.
involved in a lot of things, you're just like I feel like I should just walk around with a fire extinguisher.
you do, don't you?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty
Well,
much.
I mean, let's talk about that. I mean, you've at least from what I've known of you there, you've always been in leadership roles. So how did that come about? How did you get into all these leadership roles and
That's a good question. I don't know if I was really like a strong academic type mind. You know what I mean? Like, but I loved, I love sports. I always gravitated to coaches that were just good. I gravitated toward teachers that were good. And then so it made me want to teach because I despise the bad ones so much. I'm like, gosh, if I can go out there and just be a good one, like a good influence, or
right?
same with the coaching aspects, and I just, I enjoy interaction with people. I enjoy helping people. It's like so I just took it all, through, and I think even in college, I was always busy. Like I worked. I was in a fraternity. I played, football. I was coaching wrestling at the high school. I started the lacrosse program at the high school. Like I was just always busy. I love putting stuff on my plate. Like I'm like I can handle it. I can handle it. I can do it because I can't stand idle time. Apparently, like I just can't sit around. I'm not a sit around type person. And I think through all those, you just learn how to like navigate situations. Like it's put out fires, finding solutions, instead of excuses. It's like you're just always constantly looking for solutions. So I think that's just the way my brain works.
I think you love children too, and you like
Oh
working
no,
with the
definitely. I mean,
kids.
that was like,
That's a
I
calling he's got.
yeah, I've said. I mean, I've taught. I've taught world history. I've taught different things, and I enjoy the classroom. But I just feel like the field's just a much easier place to connect. Like it's just a different connectivity. So that's where I find my best place is out on the lacrosse field. But the classroom's great too. I mean, I like all environments, but that's just what I gravitate to.
He said,
So,
"Mom,
Ronnie, I mean,
it's like having a." He said, "It's like having a job, but it's not like a job." He
yeah.
says, "I love my job." He goes, "But it's not." He says, "But it's not like a job where you hate going to work every day." He's out there on the field. He's playing. He's hollering at the kids. He's teaching. Enjoying his life. And I was so happy for him that he found what made him happy. And
That's what I was gonna ask is how did you, in raising him for what you see him doing now as a coach and being that teacher and leader, did you see that in him early? Did you know
oh
that
yeah,
that's how that was
oh
gonna what did you see? And how did
Well
you
just
foster
because
that?
he was, so positive about whatever sport he was playing, he wanted to be his best. He wanted to get there. He wanted to be there. And don't you even make me miss, one practice. I tried to get his children to go to Cedar Point once with me, but he wouldn't let them go because they had practice. I says, "But I'm their grandma."
Right, exactly.
You gotta let them go to Cedar Point with me. But yeah, I mean, you could tell because when they're little, and you watch how much they love something, I always knew that this is where he's going to be. He it had to be. Couldn't see him doing anything else. So yeah, you just support them. You just whatever they want to do, you just push them in that direction. Okay, that's good. And his dad was really, really good at helping him and being there with him and making sure that he had his support. He's still to this day on the field with him. That's great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is that's great.
that
It's
is great.
for those who yeah, I mean, Bear, do you wanna talk about that a little bit? Because it is such a special relationship that you've got, with your dad as well and him being on the field and, you know,
Yeah,
probably half
big.
of Central Ohio has been to your farm.
Yeah, right. I
Basically
know.
playing lacrosse. Yep.
Big Earn. Yeah, Big Earn's. He just loves it. I mean, he's 82 years old now. Um, he's the first one to show up to the field. He's the last one to leave. Every opposing coach, I think every half the players in the Columbus know who he is. I mean, I think every coach in the Major League Lacrosse knew who he was. And every referee. He just loves being out there and in the mix and helping out. And we laugh, because we've been coaching together for bit 32 years now.
Long
Yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah. He's seen a lot.
So
He's been there. Like I said, um, what I appreciate is that lacrosse wasn't necessarily his sport.
mhm.
So for him to take himself out of his comfort zone and participate in what I'm doing, but he would turn and do that for my brothers. One of my brothers like big into racing, and he'd be at that quarter track, and he would be on that motor, and he would be right there. And he just whatever like he would just transform to whatever one of our interests was, and just showed me that.
That's great. So, what would you say? I mean, what do you, when you think about all the things you've learned and your influence, et cetera, like what would you say that your mom has taught you the most? Like you completely associate with a lesson from your mother.
Yeah, what is that?
Yeah.
Well, we're going. I think there's a lot of things. I mean, there's probably. I mean, you go through a daily routine, and there's like little things that will remind you of like something that your mom, you did when you're little. You're like,
Mhm.
I can't drive without in the fall without seeing the like we always get caught up in like the daily whatever the grind of like I gotta get from A to B, and you don't really necessarily get to like experience what you're the now. And I think like in the fall when you see the fall colors and you're driving, you're like, oh, I got to drive from Wheeling to Columbus. I used to do that drive all the time. And then you just like see the trees and you're like, mom's voice are coming like, oh, that's God's paintbrushes, like
I thought, oh
uh,
God, look at God. Look at the beautiful trees he painted for us. Like, one time I was saying that to him, and I'm looking, and he said, "Mom, you're about to go up on the sidewalk."
yeah. And so I enjoy it too much.
Yeah.
No, but I think there's things like that that teach you like some small appreciations, but
I think I taught you a lot
I
how
think
to love
yeah,
too. Yeah.
mom's tolerance is pretty high. Like her ability to, I think there's a lot of things that she could have been jaded about, or and probably was, but in the end, she doesn't bottle it up, doesn't take it with her too long. Like
Yeah.
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 and I think that's something that I've definitely learned, from her is like there's going to be trials and tribulations, and people aren't always going to treat you right, but it's like just move
Don't
on.
don't be a
Like yeah,
victim. Don't be
yeah,
a victim.
yeah. Don't be
Yeah.
a victim. Carry on. Like yeah, because I
Yeah.
and that goes to the whole solution thing. Like who do you want to surround yourself with? Find solutions. Don't focus on the problem. And just fun. I think we just always had fun. Like I think we just we always found
We
a
didn't have
way.
a lot of money, but we
Yeah,
had a lot of fun.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. That's far
yeah,
more valuable, sure. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, well, that's it, having that humor, right?
yeah.
And not clamping down on the spirit. When I was pregnant, I had a woman tell me, and I didn't know at the time I was gonna have a boy, but I remember it clear as day. I think it was like probably an angel. She said to me, "Listen, no matter what you do, don't have too many rules." Right? Just don't have too many rules in trying to raise kids. Like be a little bit free for a minute. Like don't
Right.
lock them down and all these things like this. It has to be this. It has to be this. And that was probably the best advice I've ever gotten. Right? Because just made so much sense.
Yeah, that was that way in their rooms, but not in my kitchen.
Yeah, exactly. But you gave him a space
Our
to have a
rules in
free
the kitchen.
spirit. Yep, yeah, that's true. Yeah, I'd have my own rules in the kitchen, I agree with that.
Yeah, it's like you can't send a man to his workshop if it's a mess, unless that's the way he likes it. But his tools, are where and as cooks, we're the same way. We like our
It's
stuff
true.
and we like where we work to be ready to go to work. At
You know,
least
you
I
you
do anyway.
no, you've raised a good point. I have a continuous, fight with my I can't even say it's a debate, it's a full out fight with my husband about where things go in the kitchen, and he
Mhm.
constantly says there's not a system, and I'm like, "There is a system, you just refuse to learn it." So
Right,
that's not
right,
true.
right.
Not true at all. Not true. It's my system, right? That's where things go. But so Bear, are you like that with equipment actually? Are you like you have that whole thing, like you gotta have your equipment in a certain place and order, and you're always that way
Yeah,
with putting on your
uh,
gear?
no, I mean, I wouldn't say
Just your
it's
habit. Your habit with doing that.
no. I don't think I have like. I mean, I like things certain ways, but I'm not like I'm pretty
You're
flexible.
not a stickler for that?
Nah,
well, that's weird because your dad really is a
that's
stickler.
probably why I don't. Well, like it's not worth
Yeah,
it.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, he probably
I mean,
taught
I
you
like things like I like
relax.
to know where they are. Like I want everything. I mean, I'll go on tangents. Like I will. Things will be messy, and then I'll go in and I'll like spend 4 hours like putting stuff in alphabetical order, or something like that. And then like I'll walk
You're
away. I'll be like,
anal.
I don't know why. Like whatever, it's done. Like so that's yeah. No, I mean I like things neat, but sometimes it's not the
Likes
I
a
get to it
he
later.
likes a neat mess.
Yeah,
That's
I
what he
get
Neat
to it
mess,
likes.
later.
that's right.
A neat
Okay,
mess.
that's fair enough, fair enough. So
Leave my
Ronnie, a little bit ago you mentioned kind of talking about God's paintbrushes, etc. So growing up, and even now, I mean, can you talk to me about like do you regularly I find another piece that I think I found in the work doing this is many men are not aware of how much their mothers pray over them and all the time. So are you constantly do you do that as well for Bear and
I pray every night
grandchildren?
for my
Yeah.
children. Every night. Yep. I do. Just If it works, this is good. And if there's nobody out there to hear me, then that's okay too. But I believe in God. So yeah, I do pray every night. This is for my whole family, not just my kids, but my whole family, like my brother's kids and my extended family. God probably gets a little tired of listening to me.
I don't think God ever gets tired of prayer. I don't think
No,
but
I
I
don't
do
think
think
so.
I do think it's interesting, and I just bring that up because again, I think it's one of those points we don't talk about enough, is that, I think at night there's a silent I kind of envision this silent worldwide thing of all these mothers praying, and
Yeah,
I think we
right,
need more of that.
right.
So, yeah, I don't know if hopefully the sons feel it. I don't know. Do you feel that, Bear? Do you know that's happening out there in the world?
Do you
Man,
feel it, Bear?
I
Me praying for you every
yeah,
night.
I know she does. I know she does. I'm always like, "Mom, I've got this. You can spin your prayers a little bit."
Nah,
You
it's
know,
not gonna
I was
work.
like,
I'm still
you can shift percentages other places, like
I
my
do.
sister."
Oh, I
Shift
do.
percentages. See, and you know what? Every boy says the same thing, like, "I've got this," right? Like, et
Oh,
cetera, but
Yeah.
they're not
yeah,
gonna turn it down either,
Do
so
you know why you got it? Because I've been praying for you.
it's there you go.
exactly,
Right.
right? Yeah, so
That's
it's
why
working
you
out
Yeah,
got
so
it.
far for you, Bear.
Yeah.
fair point. That's a good
Yeah,
point.
Fair point, right? It's what
Yeah.
you yeah, if it's not broke, don't fix it, so keep praying, Ronnie.
that's right. I will do that.
So,
Well,
Bear, what about you? What do you think, from the standpoint of what do you think that you're taking from your mother that you can see yourself having used and passing down onto your own children?
Mm, I'm probably everything. I mean, it's hard to dissect because I spend so much different time, like solely with my dad and then with my mom, and this kind of this nice blend of, the both of them taking, you know,
time for you, even as divorced parents, we together we take time.
yeah. I mean,
You take time for your kids. I mean, like no man I've ever seen.
yeah, just investment. We
Yeah.
invest like with the how much kind of know space too, like where it's mom's space, my space, respect that space. Even, Marissa and I are obviously we're together and we raise our kids together, but I know like each one of our kids, like where that is mom's space and this is probably my space to step in or be a part of. And then there's obviously the collaborative, but I think that is her and I both came from split homes. So we are kind of, we're doing it without having ever lived it, so
Right.
that's kind of been an
Oh, that's
interesting, and sometimes we have to explain that to our own kids, like, hey, this is the first time we've been a parent of a 16-year-old daughter when you're 16. Like, we're just figuring this out, as well.
yeah,
So
right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
don't
didn't come with
yeah,
instructions.
don't be
with
crucified.
instructions.
We're just doing
Right,
our best too, like we'll
right.
figure it
Yeah,
out as we go. And I think that flexibility, but yeah, I mean, I mentioned it before. I think mom's flexibility has been, just the love, the importance of family. I mean, we have on her side of the family, we've been up to 85 people at our Christmas party. She had five
All
five
family.
brothers. Yeah, five brothers and a sister, and there's 20 of us in our generation, like cousins, and then now
yeah,
they have kids and they have kids, and my grandma and grandpa, her parents were like, they had a trailer. We all got together in that trailer, and we would pack in, and that was just the way it was. And
yeah,
I think,
Family's really, been taught to him that family's what you'll have forever. You friends come and go, but you have family
yeah,
forever. And
like even differences. I mean, family is allowed to have differences, but you're
mhm,
allowed to also agree to disagree and share a dinner together and catch up and move on. Like it's
yeah,
right.
right. Yeah,
and yeah, we look forward to that. I think just I'd say probably even a campfire. We had a lot of fires when we lived out on our little house. I mean, so just
Yeah.
the enjoyment of having a little backyard fire versus this big, oh, we're gonna spend $300 to go on this big trip, and it's like, we can actually just go pull some sticks and have a fire and
Well,
roast
Right.
marshmallows. You know,
when I
like
was a single mom, we lived out on Cosgray. We had that farmhouse, and there was just a cornfield around us. So we go out back and we build a ring, with stones, and he'd invite friends over. Rick would invite friends. Lisa would have her friends, and we were kind of like the house to go to. I would
Yeah.
tell when I go to the grocery store, I yell for the boys, "Why don't you all just come on out to the car and eat the food, so I don't have to bring it?"
Yeah. Right. Right.
Yeah, one of those things. But yeah, we had fun. I mean, it was like, you don't have to
fun,
have a
fun on a dime.
yeah, you don't have to have a
Whether
lot of
mom taught me
fun.
how to have fun on a dime,
Yeah.
that
He'd
was
say,
I
cool.
love
"Mom,
that.
Kevin's got 5 pairs of those really nice tennis shoes." And I was like, "Good for Kevin." So when he said, "Well, can I have more than one pair of tennis shoes?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, you could, but you're gonna have to wait a while until I get some more money." So
Yeah.
when he'd go to bed that night, I would take his tennis shoes, and I'd wash them, go buy some new shoestrings and polish them up and put them by his
Oh,
bed so they would at least look new.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
sneaker
great.
maintenance.
Yeah,
Sneaker
sneaker maintenance worked every
maintenance.
time. "Oh, wow,
Sneaker
this looks great,
maintenance.
mom."
Oh,
Yeah.
I
Thanks.
love that. Oh,
Yeah,
that's great. That's
yeah,
good.
yeah. So you make do,
So
you don't have to have a lot of money to have a lot of love.
no, definitely. Probably those are yes, they're probably inversely related. Actually, you probably
Yeah.
have a lot better, right, without the money. So I mean, Bear, of all those things, I mean, how would you say that it's making sense to me now, having seen you as a coach? But how do you see that all this free flow? What I'm hearing is the free flow part, the love, the having the fun part. How is that all transformed and like come into your own coaching? Like, how do you bring that into the huddle, and how do you develop people with that?
Oh wow, that's a pretty layered. I think it's got a lot of layers to it.
Yeah,
Well, I think
three part question.
for me, there's a lot of things that go into it, and probably I think coaching changes when you have kids. I really do. Like, I mean, you can only imagine what it's like coaching someone else's kids when you don't have your own kids. Like, you just don't. I don't think you see it the same way. But once I had
Love
my
what I know.
own, yeah, once
Yeah,
I had my own kids, and then I'm coaching collegiately. I'm like, this mom is sending her baby to me. Like I know what that's going to be like, and we've gone through it. Like it's like that. That's just different feeling because you know you can only imagine. Like I said, you can only imagine. So, and I think you just change a little bit. The older you get, you realize that all the things that they're going to remember, and then you get down to the outcomes of games. Like are low on the priority. Like I'm
yeah,
sure your boys can't tell you the scores of any summer games that they played with Resolute, but
mm,
the hanging out in the parking lot and at the hotel and their friendships with those kids, on their club team, they'll never forget. Like they'll
mhm,
remember those. So I think once you realize what's the category of like levels of importance, like I
yeah,
mean to me, I mean I got kids that I'm coaching now. We have a foosball table in our locker room. Like there's kids that will only remember that I played foosball with them. That's the
oh, I
reality of
love
it. Yeah, that's the reality of it. Like they might remember a couple lacrosse coaching tips, but they're gonna
that.
remember when we were talking smack to each other, like, oh yeah, Coach Barry used to talk smack to me and play, foosball in the locker room. Remember that forever. So it's like I just don't get too caught up anymore, on the small pictures. I mean, don't get me wrong. For me, I think winning is a byproduct of all that stuff.
Yeah,
Like I think winning games is like building that trust. It's not for me. It's not about yelling at them. It's like they don't want to disappoint because they have a certain relationship with you, and just building that relationship with your players, and obtainable, reasonable goals. Kind of keeping it real, and you know, that's my mentality anymore. And it like
yeah,
it's probably a little easier too to look at it like that when you've done everything. I've been pretty fortunate to been able to do a lot of different levels of lacrosse. So I think my perspective now is a little bit more chill than it once was. Like I have to prove myself. I have to do this. I have to do this. I'm like,
sure,
I don't have to prove anything anymore. In my head,
right,
that's where I'm at.
right.
Like, I don't have anything to prove other than
Right.
I'm here for these kids.
And
So,
he
Ronnie,
is, 'cause
yes.
when he told me one day, I says, "Well, what are you doing, Bear?" And he goes, "Well, I'm about to go have breakfast with a young man who lives in not the best area, down
Down around London area.
yeah, and he didn't have a father, and the
Mhm,
mother was like calling Bear because he was doing some coaching for this young man, and she's
mhm,
telling Bear, certain things about him and what she's having difficulties with. So Bear, this shows his love. He invited this young man to breakfast and sat down because he doesn't have a dad or a
sure,
male figure in his life. Bear took the time taking breakfast and talk to him about life in general and where do you want to take your life. That was a very proud moment for me because it's like, yeah, that's that's what you do, Bear. That's what you do. You help people. You help them, and I think he's learned a little bit of that from me because I've helped so many people, especially
Oh,
ill people, sick
yeah.
people. I take care of them, and
oh,
yeah, I think it's rubbed off on him because he's got this heart that's just like as big as gold, and
mhm,
he does worry about the kids who don't have it all, and he wants to teach them that the streets isn't everything. You come in, you could have a life if you work for it. So no, I think that Bear's dad and myself have, did a good job there of pointing him in directions, and he's seen bad times with his dad and myself, and then he's seen how we worked it out after our divorce, and it was good. It was a good thing. More people should do that after divorce just because they don't like each
yeah,
other anymore. It doesn't mean that
sure, right,
the kids still got a mom and a dad, so
right,
and they're always gonna love their mom and their dad. So no matter what you say, just keep it to yourself and let them be there. Let the kid have fun, loving their mom and dad. Don't take
yeah,
that away from them.
I
So yeah, I've watched him through the years. Pretty proud
Mm.
of him. Yeah,
that's
he's
I
great.
I would say, it's kind of weird though because you do like I love every level of coaching. Like people ask me, what do you love? I was like, the third and fourth graders are freaking amazing. Like to me, like I love that. Like it's so innocent, and then the pros, you're dissecting the smallest, slightest little things in the game. So you're going from like kids that are asking, like their hands are too cold to are we
Yeah,
gonna have a water break? To like I'm dissecting the smallest little
right,
thing in
tiny
your tubing
thing,
form to help you. And to me, that's like that was that's fun. Like there's just so many. I have fun with whatever age group I'm with. Like the high school
he
kids.
does.
High school kids have a different thing. Middle school kids are off the wall. Like so. Yeah, it's
How
like
about the girls?
girls are they're who I mean, like coached girls for 3 or 4 years. They're a trip. I mean, yeah, different. That was totally different. That was totally different. It
I
was fun though. I mean, like it was fun. It was totally different though. They joke with you. They're a little. They're
They're different.
they're definitely different.
They can get rough with each other.
Yeah,
That that's
yeah,
that's that's part
yeah,
I thought was different than the boys because the boys like take the sticks. I'm like, oh, you just see what he did with that kid, and the girls they just touch it up. There's a flag.
yeah. Not the same sport.
Not the same sport. Uh oh,
Oh,
we can't
I
hear
think we
you.
lost you. You're on mute there, Susan.
I'm
We
sorry.
lost you.
I said,
There
so
you go.
we're kinda at our time
Yeah,
here, but I
perfect.
wanted to kinda finish up with just funny stories. So, if I
Mm.
asked both of you your top favorite funny story about the other, just humorous times that you can say, like, your time with your mom or
Oh
with
my gosh,
Bear.
there's so many where I can't think of one. What's it?
Well, we do. We do. I have one. I have one that I
Okay,
always
good.
on that. It's good. See, there's a weird thing that goes on with us that mom used to try to scare us all the time. I don't know why she got her kick scaring us.
We
Like,
shut all the lights off in the
oh yeah, and
house.
then we signed up for it, right? Like we'd be like, all right, we're gonna turn off all the lights in the house, and then you're gonna hide. and we're gonna walk through the house.
I
Like we did
hide.
spooky house. We called it spooky house.
Let's
And
play spooky
yeah,
house.
and then we did it with our kids, and mom would come over and scare our kids. So she's got this really weird thing about scaring kids.
But they have so much fun
Yeah,
doing it.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
it's fun, spooky house. So so she takes me to Cedar Point. I'm probably like, I don't know, 10 or
Oh, yeah,
11. I'm
this
like
is
10 or
fun.
11, and we get to the hotel. It's late, and I'm like, "Hey, mom, I'm gonna go check out the pool." She's in the bathroom. She's like, "Oh, okay, yeah, that sounds great." And I don't go to the pool. I crawl underneath the bed. It's like, I'm underneath the bed. And she gets out of the bathroom and she sits down and her feet are like right into the bed. She's calling my grandma and let her know that we got there and all this stuff. And she has both feet on the ground, and I just reached through and I got both feet.
From
I got
under
both feet.
bed.
And she, I mean,
Hugging it up like a
oh
Christmas
man,
tree.
did I get her? It was like such a proud moment for me because she's been scaring me whole life. Like I'm like, got her. I finally got her.
Got her.
He
Finally.
He did
Yeah.
get me.
That was
That was
younger.
probably one of
Yeah,
the
probably
funny.
one of the better.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. I'm like, you little devil, you.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Did not say devil.
No.
By the way,
Yeah.
I was like devil. That would have been nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you probably got some respect there. You're like, okay, he
Yeah,
got
I
me.
did. I got
Yeah,
mad
he
props.
got me.
I got mad props for that.
Yeah.
Man, I was patient too. I waited. I think she actually hung up with my grandma. I was like,
Oh, that's
I'm gonna let this ride.
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
that,
He really did get me. And that was a thing for us. We like to scare each other. It's like, it was a thing. All my life, actually, I enjoyed that.
Yeah, I don't know why.
I remember one
Weird.
time I was
Amazing.
laying on the floor as you go down my mother's hallway, and my sister was running the bathroom. So I knew at the end of that hallway was the bath, and she had to come around that corner. I waited like you did for the longest time for her to come around that corner so I can grab her legs. So yeah, I guess it's been like a lifelong thing.
Yeah,
I think.
don't come over our house when our lights are off. Apparently, I don't know.
I
how
would make
fun
her
is
walk,
that?
walk all through the house, no lights on.
Yeah,
And I would be
And
hiding maybe in a closet or something, and I'd jump out and
we
get me
signed up
one.
for it. We
Get
signed
me
up.
one.
Yeah.
And now they were they had to go
and
hide
so
and
you
scare
still
me
do
too.
this? You're saying
Uh,
you've handed this
I do
down
it
to
with my
the grandchildren?
grandbaby. Yeah, oh
Yeah,
yeah.
All
yeah.
that.
You do it to grandkids.
Yeah, we play scary house.
So there's our funny.
Yeah,
I
that's
love
all.
it. That's a great,
Yeah,
great, great story to end on. Well, you two both have son. You can tell the love between you. It's really inspiring, and it's so warm, and you can see what a great time you have together. Which
yeah,
is
we
that's really
always have.
nice. Oh,
Yeah.
thank you so much for sharing
Yeah,
your
thanks
time
for
and
having us.
story
This was
today.
fun.
Yeah, really enjoyed it. So take care. God bless. All right, and
Mm,
we will see you next time. Thanks,
All right.
everybody.
it was fun, brought up a lot of memories.
Bye
Bye.
now.
Bye.
Oh my